Hi everybody, and welcome to our second webinar. Thanks for all tuning in. Tonight we've got a really good panel of people. I have to make apologies for Richard Wilson, who unfortunately was called away at the last minute, but we've got a brilliant replacement for him, and his name is Pete Hickman. So I'm just going to introduce everyone. Peter, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure, Clive. I'm Pete Hickman. I'm an executive producer, and I've been in the industry for about 20 years. I specialise in external product development, but I've done some internal stuff as well.
Excellent, okay. We have Professor Carsten Maple and we have Tony. Professor, do you want to tell us a bit about you?
Yeah, my name's Carsten Maple. I'm a Professor of Applicable Computing at the University of Bedfordshire, where I'm also the Head of Computer Science and Technology. So I work with industry quite a lot, and I'm the Educational Advisor for TIGA, the Trade Association for the Games Industry. And yeah, I like games too.
Excellent. And Tony, you should all know Tony by now, but Tony, just to reiterate who you are.
Name's Tony Bickley. I'm the course director for the Train2Game courses. Been in the industry just shy of 30 years. And like Pete and Carsten, a avid gamer. Okay, so just a bit of housekeeping. We're going to run for exactly 1 hour tonight. This time around, we've broken the presentation into 3 discussion areas. So the first part we're going to cover off is really talking about the games industry. Then we're going to talk about the Train2Game course and take questions there. And then we're going to talk about education and how that relates to both the industry itself and the courses. So I think we'll kick off with the first question. The questions we have some questions that have already been sent in, and we're also going to be taking live questions, so feel free to send us in some questions via Skype if you wish as well. But first question, this is from Damon O'Shaughnessy, and he's asking about the complexity of games. He says, today's games seem to be getting easier and easier with hardly any challenge. He thinks that the PS1 games were infinitely harder and things have got easier. Pete, what have you got to say to that, being our industry guru?
Actually, I think one of the big issues is that people have just become more used to playing games. They've become better at playing games. They grow up with games now. It was different when we were growing up. Mm-hmm. There were no video games. But now that they grow up, they have consoles in their homes. They get used to the way games are built, the sort of gameplay mechanics that are incorporated, and I think it just raises the bar for the level of difficulty.
Tony?
I would agree with all that, and I'd also say that the industry is evolving all the time, and a lot of the new games, the games that are in the market at the moment, are about delivering a gameplay experience where you live in the world of the game rather than the older style games of 10 years back, where you were trying to beat the end of level boss to enter the new level, solve the 3 problems within that level, beat the end of level boss and beat the game. It's less about beating the game now rather than enjoying the experience.
I think one of the things is there's just a wider variety of games we've got. We've got different input devices. We've got different people playing games. You know, there was a certain kind of people, you said before, Pete, about when we were playing games. You know, now, of course, there's many grannies playing games on the Wii, and you've just got a complete different model of the way the games industry works. I think you've got a growth of casual games, which aren't necessarily shorter. People are very busy, you know, at the minute, and they want to dip in and out of games, and they want to play something for a little while, and that's it. And you also get the sort of viral type game where people want to advertise, so you may get a game that's very short-lived, that casual kind of game, and that's why our perceptions might be slightly different, but there's still plenty of games that have got a great deal of longevity, I think.
Another question from Scott Williams. Kids playing 18 cert games. This is a sort of an often discussed topic in the games industry. Kids playing 18 cert games who clearly aren't 18. What do we think about that? Do we think there are issues there? Do we think that we should legislate more heavily for 18 cert games? And do we think it's a profit-making affair?
Well, I think there is a market for 18 cert games. I think it's a very important market in the same way that 18 certificate movies and more adult books and comics are sold. I think we need more education for shopkeepers and the people who sell the games, but I think we need more education for parents as well, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of parents, even though it's got the 18 rating posted on the box, aren't really aware of the sort of content you can have in these games. I mean, it's very violent, often sexual, and I think that if you educate parents explain to them the reason that it's been given an 18 rating, they'll be less likely to let their children play them.
I think you've got classification system in place, you know, the same as the film industry, as you said, has before, and there's all kinds of things we can't do at certain age limits, for example, drinking, etc. And a policy in place is what they have. So they have a classification that says, and that's what it's there for. It's for advice, and you can say to shopkeepers, you know, you can't sell it. But it's all about enforcement. If you really want to make sure, it's about enforcement, and that's not easy. It's not easy to stop people under 18 having alcohol. It's not easy to stop people under 18 watching films that are clearly not suited for them. So what we have in place is a classification system, and it's there. The policing of it that they're talking about is a more difficult problem, and certainly with games. So
I think, sorry to interrupt, I think in the future we'll see more active policing in the same way that trading standards, for example, police sales of fireworks or alcohol, cigarettes to minors. You know, I think there will be random checks in stores. You're completely right. We do need to police this better than we're doing it at the moment, but there's no ideal solution.
I mean, to just jump in there, I also think, to back up what you said about education, we need to be educating the parents to move away from the fact that the games console is a cheap babysitter, and they just let their kids play with it at any time, and to look upon computer games not just as a game, but as entertainment, in the same way as they would with an 18-rated video or an 18-rated book/magazine. They wouldn't dream of letting their child buy it, and if they caught them with it, they would actually police it themselves. But a game, oh, it's just a game. And I think that's part of the problem here, and that's part of where some of the backlash that the industry's had. I mean, there's a legitimate reason to have 18-rated interactive entertainment, to move away from the games term, but people have to accept that it's a different market.
Another question from David Stone. When designing a character, so this is getting more into the specifics of games development now, but when designing a character for a game, what would the panel recommend in terms of trying to make them unique? What influences should they try and look for? Tony, do you want to take that?
They need primarily, to slightly sidestep the questions there, they need primarily to look at what the game needs. So rather than concentrating on making the character unique per se, look at differentiating the character from what's out there rather than making it unique. Look at what the game needs and look for the characters to supply that needs. Look for the way that the character's going to interact within the gaming environment. Look to make it believable so as the player can empathise with that character rather than concentrating purely on a look.
E3's just finished, in fact, finished yesterday. What are the kind of stuff that we were looking at over at E3? What do we think? Do we think that the content and the character types and the character development is taking a step forward? In fact, Pete, you've been looking at a lot of that stuff.
Unfortunately, I don't think it is taking a huge leap forward. I mean, there's a slow evolution of the detail level that these characters have. But certainly at E3, we saw the launch trailers for lots of franchise games. So, the Driver 4s, the next iteration of Gears of War, and the characters seem very similar to the previous iterations. I think when we're talking about new technologies like the Microsoft system and Peter Molyneux's game Milo, where the character starts to empathise and you associate yourself with that character based on what you're feeling and what you're seeing. I think that's probably the way forward. But at the moment, it's fairly static.